Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We will begin with the prayers. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Narayanam Namas. We don't have to see those prayers. So actually officially today is the last day that Bhagavad Gita officially concludes. And there will be few more verses for next class after what we have finished, and those verses are actually called as Phalastuti, or at the end of all most Vedic texts, it is written by the author. What is the benefit of reading that literature? So sometimes at the end of shlokas, at the end of a song, that Phalastuti is written, and it just means that by reading those set of songs or that book, what is the benefit that the reader gets? So from 68 onwards is the Phalastuti. So Krishna is explaining to Arjuna what is the benefit of reading Bhagavad Gita. And Sanjaya also adds to that, because in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, we can remember that the first verse started where Sanjaya started speaking with Dhritarashtra. So he was asked by Dhritarashtra that what is happening in the battlefield. And Sanjaya was relaying to him, by the mercy of Vyasadeva, he could exactly see what was happening on the battlefield, and he was conveying the message to Dhritarashtra, although they were seated in the palace away from the battlefield. So now Sanjaya will also conclude the text of Bhagavad Gita, and he will say that actually, although he knows the heart of Dhritarashtra, that Dhritarashtra wanted his sons to win and not the Pandavas to win. But in his own way, he tells that wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is Arjuna, all kinds of opulences and victory are with them. So that will be the conclusion of our reading of Bhagavad Gita next week. And this week is also a very important section of verses where Krishna is directly instructing Arjuna, and he is also instructing all of us the final conclusion which one should take. And the final conclusion is that no matter where we are, what we are doing, and who we are, if we can just surrender our lives, put our lives in Krishna's hands, then we will be protected in all circumstances. So that is the essence of the verses that we are going to read today. And at the same time, Krishna is so merciful. He is the Supreme Lord, and he is the Supreme Controller. But at the same time, he is so merciful that he leaves the decision up to the living entity, what they wish to do. Krishna never forces any living entity that they should act in a particular fashion. He only gives the most highest confidential knowledge to his dear friend Arjuna. But at the end of it, he says, you can choose to do what you want to do. I have shared with you the best advice that I can give. So that is also love of Krishna for the living entities. He's the Supreme Father, but at the same time, he gives all independence to the living entities to act according to their desires. So this is the section we will be reading. So if anybody would like to read from...
Hare Krishna Mataji, I can read Mataji.
So
Mataji,
Mataji, you have to read from text 58.
so how many verses?
So please read 58, 59 and 60, Mataji.
Okay. Machchitta sarva durgani matprasada tarishyasi atha chetvam ahankaran nashroshyasi vinanksyasi. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. Purport by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A person in full Krishna consciousness is not unduly anxious about executing the duties of his existence. The foolish can understand this great freedom from all anxiety. The foolish cannot understand this great freedom from all anxiety. For one who acts in Krishna consciousness, Lord Krishna becomes the most intimate friend. He always looks after his friend's comfort, and he gives himself to his friend, who is so devotedly engaged, working 24 hours a day to please the Lord. Therefore, no one should be carried away by the false ego of the bodily concept of life. One should not falsely think himself independent of the laws of material nature or free to act. He is already under strict material laws, but as soon as he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is liberated, free from the material perplexities. One should note very carefully that one who is not active in Krishna consciousness is losing himself in the material whirlpool, in the ocean of birth and death. No conditioned soul actually knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. But a person who acts in Krishna consciousness is free to act because everything is prompted by Krishna from within and confirmed by the spiritual master. 59th verse. Yad ahankaran ashritya nayotsyo nayotsya iti manyase mityaisha vyavasa yaste prakritistvam niyokshati. If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. Purport. Arjuna was a military man and born of the nature of the Kshatriya. Therefore, his natural duty was to fight. But due to false ego, he was fearing that by killing his teacher, grandfather, and friends, he would incur sinful reactions. Actually, he was considering himself master of his actions, as if he were directing the good and bad results of such work. He forgot that the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present there, instructing him to fight. That is the forgetfulness of the conditioned soul. The Supreme Personality gives directions as to what is good and what is bad. And one simply has to act in Krishna consciousness to attain the perfection of life. No one can ascertain his destiny as the Supreme Lord can. Therefore, the best course is to take direction from the Supreme Lord and act. No one should neglect the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the order of the spiritual master. who is the representative of God. One should act unhesitatingly to execute the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that will keep one safe under all circumstances. Verse number 60. स्वभावजेन कौन्तेय निबद्धस्वेन कर्मणा कर्तुं नेच्छसि यन्मोहात् करिष्यस्य अवशो अपि तत्. Under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction, but compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti. Purport. If one refuses to act under the direction of the Supreme Lord, then he is compelled to act by the modes in which he is situated. Everyone is under the spell of a particular combination of the modes of nature and is acting in that way. But anyone who voluntarily engages himself under the direction of the Supreme Lord becomes glorious. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Would anybody else like to read 61, 62, and 63?
I can read, Mataji.
Sure, Mataji.
Text 61. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridayase Arjuna tistati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities, who are seated on a machine made of the material energy. Purport. Arjun was not the supreme knower, and his decision to fight or not to fight was confined to his limited discretion. Lord Krishna instructed that the individual is not all in all. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, or He Himself, Krishna, as the localized Supersoul, sits in the heart directing the living being. After changing bodies, the living entity forgets his past deeds, but the Supersoul, as the knower of the past, present, and future, remains the witness of all his activities. Therefore, all the activities of living entities are directed by this Supersoul. The living entity gets what he deserves and is carried by the material body, which is created in the material energy under the direction of the Supersoul. As soon as a living entity is placed in a particular type of body, he has to work under the spell of that bodily situation. A person seated in a high-speed motor car goes faster than one seated in a slower car, though the living entities, the drivers, may be the same. Similarly, by the order of the Supreme Soul, material nature fashions a particular type of body to a particular type of living entity so that he may work according to his past desires. The living entity is not independent. One should not think himself independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The individual is always under the Lord's control. Therefore, one's duty is to surrender, and that is the injunction of the next verse. Text 62. Tam eva saranam gaccha sarva bhavena bharata tat prasadat param santim statanam prapsayasi sashvatam. O son of Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. Purport. A living entity should therefore surrender into the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart, and that will relieve him from all kinds of miseries of his material existence. By such surrender, not only will one be released from all miseries in this life, but at the end he will reach the Supreme God. The transcendental world is described in the Vedic literature, Rig Veda 1.22.20, as Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam. Since all of creation is the kingdom of God, everything material is actually spiritual, but Paramam Padam specifically refers to the eternal abode, which is called the spiritual sky or Vaikuntha. In the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Sarvasya Chaham Hridhi Samnivishta. The Lord is seated in everyone's heart. So this recommendation that one should surrender unto the super soul sitting within means that one should surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna has already been accepted by Arjuna as the Supreme. He was accepted in the 10th chapter as Param Brahma, Param Dham. Arjuna has accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the supreme abode of all living entities, not only because of his personal experience, but also because of the evidence of great authorities like Narada, Ashita, Devala, and Vyasa. Text 63. Iti te jnanam akhyatam guyataram maya vimrishyetad asinsena yathechasi tatha kuru. Thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. Purport. The Lord has already explained to Arjuna the knowledge of Brahma Bhuta. One who is in the Brahma Bhuta condition is joyful. He never laments, nor does he desire anything. That is due to confidential knowledge. Krishna also discloses knowledge of the Supersoul. This is also Brahman knowledge of Brahman, but it is superior. Here the words Yathechasi tatha kuru, as you like, you may act, indicate that God does not interfere with the little independence of the living entity. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has explained in all respects how one can elevate his living condition. The best advice imparted to Arjuna is to surrender unto the super soul seated within his heart. By right discrimination, one should agree to act according to the order of the super soul. That will help one become situated constantly in Krishna consciousness, the highest perfectional stage of human life. Arjuna is being directly ordered by the personality of Godhead to fight. Surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in the best interest of the living entities. It is not for the interest of the Supreme. Before surrendering, one is free to deliberate on this subject as far as intelligence goes. That is the best way to accept the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such instruction comes also through the spiritual master, the bona fide representative of Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for reading.
Thank you, Mataji.
Would anybody else like to read 64, 65, and 66? Dushyant Prabhu, would you like to read?
Else? Can you call on someone else?
Sure, Prabhu. Yeah, would anybody else like to read?
I can, Mataji, if no one wants.
Sure, Mataji. Go ahead.
Text 64. Sarvaguyatamam bhuya shranu me paramam vachaha ishtosi me dridham iti tato vakshyami te hitam. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Purport. The Lord has given Arjuna knowledge that is confidential, knowledge of Brahman, and still more confidential, knowledge of Supersoul within everyone's heart. And now he is giving the most confidential part of knowledge, just surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the end of the 9th chapter, he has said, Mana Mana, just always think of me. The same instruction is repeated here to stress the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. This essence is not understood by a common man, but by one who is actually very dear to Krishna, a pure devotee of Krishna. This is the most important instruction in all Vedic literature. What Krishna is saying in this connection is the most essential part of knowledge, and it should be carried out not only by Arjuna but by all living entities. Text 65. Man mana bhava mad bhakto mad yaji mama namaskuru mama eva shyashi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. The most confidential part of knowledge is that one should become a pure devotee of Krishna and always think of him and act for him. One should not become an official meditator. Life should be so molded that one will always have the chance to think of Krishna. One should always act in such a way that all his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. He should arrange his life in such a way that throughout the 24 hours he cannot but think of Krishna. And the Lord's promise is that anyone who is in such pure Krishna consciousness will certainly return to the abode of Krishna, where he will be engaged in the association of Krishna face to face. This most confidential part of knowledge is spoken to Arjuna because he is the dear friend of Krishna. Everyone who follows the path of Arjuna can become a dear friend to Krishna and obtain the same perfection as Arjuna. These words stress that one should concentrate his mind upon Krishna, the very form with two hands carrying a flute, the bluish boy with the beautiful face and the peacock feathers in his hair. There are descriptions of Krishna found in the Brahma Samhita and other literatures. One should fix his mind on this original form of Godhead, Krishna. One should not even divert his attention to other forms of the Lord. The Lord has multiple forms as Vishnu, Narayana, Rama, Varaha, etc. But a devotee should concentrate his mind on the form that was present before Arjuna. Concentration of the mind on the form of Krishna constitutes the most confidential part of knowledge, and this is disclosed to Arjuna because Arjuna is the most dear friend of Krishna's. Text 66. Sarvadharman parityagya mama ekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yashyami ma sucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Purport. The Lord has described various kinds of knowledge and processes of religion. Knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, knowledge of the Supersoul, knowledge of the different types of orders and statuses of social life, knowledge of the renounced order of life, knowledge of non-attachment, sense and mind control, meditation, etc. He has described in so many ways different types of religion. Now, in summarizing Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that Arjuna should give up all the processes that have been explained to him. He should simply surrender to Krishna. That surrender will save him from all kinds of sinful reactions, for the Lord personally promises to protect him. In the 7th chapter, it was said that only one who has become free from all sinful reactions can take to the worship of Lord Krishna. Thus one may think that unless he is free from all sinful reactions, he cannot take to the surrendering process. To such doubts, it is here said that even if one is not free from all sinful reactions, simply by the process of surrendering to Sri Krishna, he is automatically free. There is no need of strenuous effort to free oneself from sinful reactions. One should unhesitatingly accept Krishna as the supreme savior of all living entities. With faith and love, one should surrender unto him. The process of surrender to Krishna is described in the Hari Bhakti Vilas 11.676. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyat yatiti vishwasho गोपितृत्वे वर्णम तथा आत्मनिक्षेप कर्पण्ये सद्विद शरणागति. According to the devotional process, one should simply accept such religious principles that will lead ultimately to the devotional service of the Lord. One may perform a particular occupational duty according to his position in the social order, but if by executing his duty one does not come to the point of Krishna consciousness, all his activities are in vain. Anything that does not lead to the perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness should be avoided. One should be confident that in all circumstances Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. There is no need of thinking how one should keep the body and soul together. Krishna will see to that. One should always think himself helpless and should consider Krishna the only basis for his progress in life. As soon as one seriously engages himself in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness, at once he becomes freed from all contamination of material nature. There are different processes of religion and purificatory processes by cultivation of knowledge, meditation in the mystic yoga system, etc. But one who surrenders unto Krishna does not have to execute so many methods. That simple surrender unto Krishna will save him from unnecessarily wasting time. One can thus make all progress at once and be freed from all sinful reactions. One should be attracted by the beautiful vision of Krishna. His name is Krishna because he is all attractive. One who becomes attracted by the beautiful, all-powerful, omnipotent vision of Krishna is fortunate. There are different kinds of transcendentalists. Some of them are attached to the impersonal Brahman vision. Some of them are attracted by the super soul feature, etc. But one who is attracted to the personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and above all, one who is attracted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna himself, is the most perfect transcendentalist. In other words, the devotional service to Krishna in full consciousness is the most confidential part of knowledge, and this is the essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Karma yogis, empiric philosophers, mystics, and devotees are all called transcendentalists, but one who is a pure devotee is the best of all. The particular words used here, ma sucha, don't fear, don't hesitate, don't worry, are very significant. One may be perplexed as to how one can give up all kinds of religious forms and simply surrender unto Krishna, but such worry is useless. Should I continue, Mataji? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I'm sorry. I think I was muted. Yeah. So I said like this concludes the verses that we were supposed to cover like today. And next week we will complete like the rest of the verses in Bhagavad Gita. And so these set of verses that you just read are like very, very important verses. And now we can open up for discussion. Whoever would like to say something based on what we read. In the last verse, it is written, the process of surrender to Krishna is described in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Anukalyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. So does anybody recognize this verse and what it means?
Mataji, I can understand the first three. If you could tell us about the last three.
Go ahead, Mataji.
So Mataji, kulyasya sankalpa. So accepting things which are favorable to devotional service. Pratikulyasya varjanam. Rejecting the things which are not favorable for devotional service. Rakshishyatiti vishwaso. That means having firm faith that Krishna will protect. That much I know, Mataji.
Anybody else? Thank you, Mataji. Would like to share?
Yeah, this is from the nectar of instruction I had heard. Mataji. The favorable and unfavorable things.
Mataji, there is an echo.
Okay, 1 second. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Is it clear now?
Yes.
Yeah, Mataji, that Anukulyana and Pratikul, it is, I remember from nectar of instruction, that is favorable and unfavorable to bhakti process. So that is, yeah. So there are 6 things which is favorable and 6 things which is unfavorable. So we have to be aware of those things so that we can continue our journey in the devotional service very nicely. So what are reject those things which is unfavorable. So like not having association with worldly minded people. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Would anybody else like to share what this verse is about, which Prabhupada is quoting? Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. I mean, the reason I'm asking is because we have heard this many times. Probably it's, just new to hear it in Sanskrit language, but okay. So actually, these are the 6 limbs of surrender. This is explained in also many songs written by Bhaktivedanta Thakur. So the 6 limbs of surrender are, as Mataji already explained, Anukulyasya Sankalpa means accepting those things that are favorable for Krishna consciousness. And Pratikulyasya Varjanam is rejecting things that are unfavorable for Krishna consciousness. So these are the 2 limbs of surrendering to Krishna. Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Varjanam. So as devotees, we can, think of those things that Srila Prabhupada has given us. Anukulyasya Sankalpa. Like Srila Prabhupada has asked us to chant 16 rounds. That's one of the favorable things for our Krishna consciousness. Read Prabhupada's books, surrender to the spiritual master, take the association of devotees. These are all things that are favorable for Krishna consciousness. And Pratikulyasya Varjanam means those things that are unfavorable, like following the 4 regulative principles and avoid, as Mataji was also saying, giving up the association of non-devotees. And Rakshita is the Vishwaso. So as Sudevi Mataji was explaining, that Krishna will definitely protect me. Thinking like that is part of surrender. Very important part of surrender. And Gotripte Varanam Tatha. So actually this means, Gotripte Varanam Tatha actually means that, Krishna is my protector. So it is very similar to Rakshiti iti Vishwaso. Gotripte Varanam Tatha is actually that, we have accepted Krishna as our own. So that is Gotripte Varanam Tatha. Atma Nikshepa Karpanye. So Atma Nikshepa is another limb, which actually means that, one Atma Nivedana is very similar to Atma Nikshepa. So that means one has dedicated everything in service to Krishna, and Karpanye is humility. So in Bhaktivedanta Thakur's prayers, actually we hear in the reverse order, we hear Dainya Atma Nivedana Gotripte Varana Avashya Rakshive Krishna Vishwasa Palana. So Dainya is Karpanya, is humility. So when one actually develops a spiritual conception of life, understanding that his position is very small and Krishna is very great, that is Karpanya. And following, when one is completely in a humble mood, then automatically one feels inspired to surrender to Krishna. That is Atma Nikshepa. One surrenders everything, all his activities to Krishna. And then he becomes very confident that Krishna is going to protect him. Krishna is his everything. And then, one will naturally become very attracted to things that are related to devotional service and reject things that are unfavorable for devotional service. So that is the order in which Bhaktivedanta Thakur gives. So this is the same thing that Prabhupada is quoting here. Anything else? Anybody found inspiring, interesting, and would like to share something?
Mataji, can we read ahead today?
Yes, Mataji, but these verses also have a lot in them. If all of you want to read ahead, that's fine with me.
So we will have more time for a revision also, Mataji.
I'm sorry, I did not fully understand. Like you're saying that we should read ahead so that we have more time for
Yeah,
revision.
whatever verses we can cover today, then we'll have time for revision also. Like the next 2 weeks we'll have for revision.
Okay, we'll wait for 5 more minutes if anybody wants to discuss something, and then we can read ahead if you want.
Few important points which I felt was like in 65th verse, I read that life should be molded in such a way that 24 hours we can think of Krishna. And another is the most confidential knowledge was revealed to Arjuna because he is a dear friend of Lord. And what is that most confidential knowledge? It is a concentration of the mind on the form of Krishna, the two-handed form of Krishna carrying the flute, the bluish boy with a beautiful face and peacock feather. So although there are many other forms of the Lord, but Lord specifically asked Arjuna to concentrate his mind on this particular form, the original form. So this is what I found very important.
Thank you, Mataji. Anybody else would like to share something? Okay, Mataji, then maybe we can continue reading. Okay, would somebody like to read text 67, 68, and 69?
I can read Mataji.
Sure, Prabhu.
67. Idam te natapa pasakya nabhaktya kadachana na chasurasvasya vachyam nacha mamyo payushyati. Translation. This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere, are devoted, or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. Purport. Persons who have not undergone the austerities of the religious process, who have never attempted devotional service in Krishna consciousness, who have not tended to pure devotee, and especially those who are conscious of Krishna only as a historical personality, or who are envious of greatness of Krishna, should not be told this most confidential part of the knowledge. It is, however, sometimes found that even a Dominic persons who are envious of Krishna, worshipping Krishna in different way, take to profession of explaining Bhagavad Gita in different way to make business. But anyone who desires actually to understand Krishna must avoid such commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. Actually, the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is not understandable to those who are sincere. Even if one is not sincere, but is strictly following the disciplines enjoined in the Vedic scripture. If he is not a devotee, he also cannot understand Krishna. And even when one poses himself as a devotee of Krishna, but is not engaged in Krishna consciousness activities, he also cannot understand Krishna. There are many persons who envy Krishna because he has explained in Bhagavad Gita that he is the supreme and that nothing above him or equal to him. There are many persons who are envious of Krishna. Such persons should not be told of Bhagavad Gita, for they cannot understand. There is no possibility of a faithless person's understanding a Bhagavad Gita and Krishna. Without understanding Krishna from the authority of a pure devotee, one should not try to comment upon the Bhagavad Gita. Ya idam paramam guhyam mad bhakteshu abhihidasyati bhakti mai param kritva mam evaishyayate asamasyasyaha. For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he will come back to me. Purport. Generally, it is advised that Bhagavad Gita is discussed amongst the devotees only. For those who are not devotees will understand. For those who are not devotees will understand neither Krishna nor Bhagavad Gita. Those who do not accept a Krishna as he is and Bhagavad Gita as it is should not try to explain Bhagavad Gita whimsically and become offenders. Bhagavad Gita should be explained to the persons who are ready to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. It is subject matter for the devotees only and not for the philosophical speculators. Anyone, however, who tries sincerely to present Bhagavad Gita as it is will advance in devotional activities and reach the pure devotional state of life. As a result of such pure devotion, he is sure to go back home, back to Godhead. 18.69 Nacha tasman manushyeshu kachin me priya kritamaha pavita nacha me tasmat anyaha priya taro puvi. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. 18.70 Adhyashyate cha yamim imam dharmyam samvadam avyaha gnana yagnena tenaham ishta syam iti me matiha. And I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worship me by his intelligence.
Thank you, Prabhu. Would anybody like to read 71 and 72?
Okay, I can read.
Sure, Prabhu.
Shraddhavan anasuyascha shrunuyadapi yo nara sopi mukta subha lokan prapniyat punya karmanam. And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell. In the 67th verse of this chapter, the Lord explicitly forbade the Gita as being spoken to those who are envious of the Lord. In other words, Bhagavad Gita is for the devotees only. But it so happens that sometimes the devotee of the Lord will hold open class, and in that class not all the students are expected to be devotees. Why do such persons hold open class? It is explained here that although not everyone is a devotee, still there are many men who are not envious of Krishna and have faith in him as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. If such persons hear from a bona fide devotee about the Lord, the result is that they become at once free from all sinful reactions, and after that attain to the planetary system where all righteous persons are situated. Therefore, simply by hearing Bhagavad Gita, even a person who does not try to be a pure devotee attains the result of righteous activities. Thus, the pure devotee of the Lord gives everyone a chance to become free from all sinful reactions and to become a devotee of the Lord. Generally, those who are free from sinful reactions, those who are righteous, very easily take to Krishna consciousness. The word punya karmana is very significant here. This refers to the performance of great sacrifices, like the Ashwamedh Yajna mentioned in the Vedic literature. Those who are righteous in performing devotional service but who are not pure can attain the planetary system of the pole star or Dhruvaloka, where Dhruva Maharaj is presiding. He is a great devotee of the Lord, and he has a special planet, which is called the pole star. Kachid etak shrutam partha Vaye kagrina chetasa kachid ajnana sammoha panastase dhananjaya. O son of Pritha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusions now dispelled? The Lord was acting as the spiritual master of Arjuna. Therefore, it was his duty to inquire from Arjuna whether he understood the whole Bhagavad Gita in its proper perspective. If not, the Lord was ready to re-explain any point or the whole Bhagavad Gita if so required. Actually, anyone who hears Bhagavad Gita from a bona fide spiritual master like Krishna or his representative will find that all his ignorance is dismissed. Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary book written by a poet or fiction writer. It is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any person fortunate enough to hear these teachings from Krishna or from his bona fide spiritual representative is sure to become a liberated person and get out of the darkness of despair.
Thank you, Risha. No, we will. And sure, go ahead, Prabhu, if you want to read. Yeah.
Ashto moha smritir labdha vat prasadan maya chuta sitosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. Arjuna said, My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt and am prepared to act according to your instructions. The constitutional position of a living entity represented by Arjuna is that he has to act according to the order of the Supreme Lord. He is meant for self-discipline. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that the actual position of the living entity is that of the eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Forgetting this principle, the living entity becomes conditioned by material nature. But in serving the Supreme Lord, he becomes a liberated servant of God. The living entity's constitutional position is to be a servitor. He has to serve either the illusory Maya or the Supreme Lord. If he serves the Supreme Lord, he is in his normal condition. But if he prefers to serve the illusory external energy, then certainly he will be in bondage. In illusion, the living entity is serving in this material world. He is bound by his lust and desires, yet he thinks of himself as the master of the world. This is called illusion. When a person is liberated, his illusion is over, and he voluntarily surrenders unto the Supreme to act according to his desires. The last illusion, the last snare of Maya to trap the living entity is the proposition that he is God. The living entity thinks that he is no longer a conditioned soul but God. He is so unintelligent that he does not think that if he were God, then how could he be in doubt? That he does not consider. So that is the last snare of illusion. Actually, to become free from the illusory energy is to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and agree to act according to his order. The word moha is very important in this verse. Moha refers to that which is opposed to knowledge. Actually, real knowledge is the understanding that every living being is eternally a servitor of the Lord. But instead of thinking oneself in that position, the living entity thinks that he is not a servant, that he is the master of this material world, for he wants to lord it over the material nature. That is his illusion. This illusion can be overcome by the mercy of the Lord or by the mercy of a pure devotee. When that illusion is over, one agrees to act in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is acting according to Krishna's order. A conditioned soul, illusioned by the external energy of matter, does not know that the Supreme Lord is the Master who is full of knowledge and who is the proprietor of everything. Whatever he desires, he can bestow upon his devotees. He is the friend of everyone, and he is especially inclined to his devotees. He is the controller of this material nature and of all living entities. He is also the controller of inexhaustible time, and he is full of all opulences and all potencies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can even give himself to the devotee. One who does not know him is under the spell of illusion. He does not become a devotee, but a servitor of Maya. Arjuna, however, after hearing Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, became free from all illusion. He could understand that Krishna was not only his friend, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he understood Krishna factually. So, to study Bhagavad Gita is to understand Krishna factually. When a person is in full knowledge, he naturally surrenders to Krishna. When Arjuna understood that it was Krishna's plan to reduce the unnecessary increase of population, he agreed to fight according to Krishna's desire. He again took up his weapons, his arrows and bow, to fight under the order of the Supreme Personality of God.
Thank you, Dushan Prabhu, for reading. So, yeah. So, anything anybody would like to discuss?
Maybe we can finish today.
How does everybody feel?
Great, but do not understand fully.
Huh? I'm sorry, Prabhu.
It's one way. It's a great. We are accomplishing this, and the other side is also going on. Still, I did not get the complete big picture. Still, so many times at reading, but still, it's still mistake. So much to unfold, so much to grasp.
Mataji, after finishing these verses next week, can you explain like the connectivity of the flow of the Bhagavad Gita through all the chapters like that? Is it possible?
Mataji, we will be doing the review session, right? So I wanted to ask all of you, should we schedule it for a Saturday in the evening around 6 o'clock? Will it work for everybody?
No, Mataji.
In addition to Tuesday, if we schedule like a weekend also, is it okay for everybody?
Morning is possible, Mataji, like whatever time you have, morning.
That's hard for me, Mataji. I personally, if we do 2 weekdays evenings, that's better than a Saturday. But
Okay.
we'll see how everyone wants.
Yeah. How does it work for everybody?
Saturday evening instead of evening, if it is morning or something, it is better.
No, Mataji is saying that Saturday morning will not work for her. Weekday night.
Weekday same time is okay, Mataji. Like
I
it
have
will
other
work for
classes,
us.
Mataji, so weekday other classes little difficult.
Oh, okay.
How about
Which days do you have, Mataji? Which are the
Mataji? I
days?
think Friday evening is fine. Same time. Yeah, Friday evening.
We have Bhakti Vriksha, Mataji.
How about Wednesday?
Kiran Mataji, would Saturday evening work for you or no?
It gets hard, Mataji, because I am cooking like for the whole week for Ravi to take.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's like the whole Saturday is very busy. But
Okay,
I
okay.
can do
Okay.
Sunday if it works for people. Like Sunday evening might be okay.
Will Sunday evening work for devotees?
Mataji, my Saturday and Sunday, there is I have some classes, Mataji, Saturday, Sunday evening.
How about Ram Sharan Prabhu and Rukmavati Mataji and Joshna Mataji?
We are okay, Mataji. Like weekdays would be okay, but however,
How
and it
is
will be only
Wednesday?
for
Wednesday evening?
two.
Wednesday evening is fine with all of you. Wednesday evening.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we are also okay. Wednesday evening.
Mataji say Wednesday evening is available for you.
Dushyant Prabhu and Jyotirmai Mataji, is it okay? Wednesday evening?
Wednesday is okay for me.
Starting tomorrow or next week?
We can do it next week because, devotees have to prepare for the review sessions. So, like what we had discussed last week was like each devotee can take up each chapter, beginning from chapter 13, and present it to the devotees, and whatever discussion comes up with it, and whatever questions they feel they're important can also be discussed. Will it work?
Yep.
Jyotirmai Mataji, are you okay?
Okay for what, Mataji? For Wednesday, I'm okay. I said okay.
Yeah, Wednesday evening. Okay. Yeah. And Dushyant Prabhu, is it fine with you?
Yeah, we'll do Tuesday, Wednesday next week then?
Yeah.
Sure.
So it will
Okay.
be same time, Mataji, 5 for that same time, that 1 hour, that as we do it here.
Yeah, we'll keep it like that. Yeah. So next week we will be concluding the reading of Bhagavad Gita on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, we can review chapter 13. We can discuss among each other, like who would like to review which chapters. So please let me know. I'll send out the email, and devotees can let me know which chapter they prefer to review.
So are we 6, Mataji? We have 6 chapters, right?
Yes, Mataji. We have 6, and the 18th chapter will divide it between 2 devotees.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So right after the class, I'll send out how we want to divide it in review, and devotees can volunteer for whichever section they want to discuss. Does this sound good?
Yes, Mataji. So while we are preparing for this discussion, do we just, like, as far as the sample questions, do we just kind of base on the ones that we have done through the class, or you think there are other questions that you could send?
Sure, Mataji. Yeah, I can send you.
You
There are
can.
some homework questions that I already sent.
Yeah.
In addition to that, if there are more questions, I'll send them to you.
So,
Oh,
Mataji,
okay,
like, how do you want to, because I didn't do the first module, so that's why I'm asking, like, so should we have to summarize the whole chapter, or how do you expect this?
Yes, Mataji. Yeah.
Okay. So going verse by verse, right, like that, right?
Huh? I'm sorry.
Like going verse by verse?
Verse
Or
by verse
overall?
is also fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mataji,
Okay,
could you give that recordings, Mataji? It is updated.
Mataji, you can check with Archita Mataji. So,
I don't have her contact number, Mataji.
Mataji, her email is there on the mailing list. So you can write to her and ask her. I already reminded her. Like when you asked me the first time, I already reminded her. So you can check. You can send an email reminder to her.
Mataji, I was noticing that there's a lot of people's names on the email list. Are they sort of just idle right now, or are they going to join up later or something?
Yes, Prabhu. Actually, I think those were all the devotees who signed up, based on my knowledge, for this. But some devotees.
Maybe you can just email the
I
us,
don't think.
who are interested from now onward. Because why to send everybody the email? I don't know. Maybe just a suggestion.
No, I think you are correct, Prabhu. Like I was thinking of the same thing. Like, we can tell devotees that, if they wish to continue receiving emails from us, they can write to me. But also another criterion for the exam is if some devotee has missed a lot of classes, attendance is also a part of this criterion to be able to give the exam. So if somebody has missed a lot of classes, then please write to me if you still want to give the exam, and it has to be reviewed with other devotees who are part of the Bhakti Sastri team. I mean, for those devotees who have missed, like I have discussed with other devotees, and they strongly recommend not to allow such devotees to give the exam. So that is the feedback that I have received. But if anybody has not attended, but they're very inclined to write the exam, please write to me.
Also, Mataji, is it decided if the exam is in person or not?
Mataji, very likely it will be in person at the temple on 1st of August.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll end here, and I'll send you the dates for our review sessions, and basically for our review sessions, nothing more.
So in one session, how many chapters we are planning to cover, Mataji?
2 chapters, Mataji.
2. So we need 4 such sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So next Tuesday will be reading only. Then Wednesday we have that session.
Mataji, I will send you the email, Mataji, so you'll have a clear picture of what we'll be doing. Okay, and also Mataji, it will help devotees to plan. Whoever is reviewing, they'll have some time to plan for the review. Okay, so we'll end here for today. Thank you all very much for your participation. I'm very appreciative.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you very
Srila
much,
Prabhupada
Mataji.
ki jai.
Thank you, Mataji.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Bhagavad Gita
Hare
ki
Krishna.
jai. Hare Krishna.